Leah could feel the shift in the air, even if she could not see it. The wind dragged icy fingers across her cheeks, carrying the scent of wet stone and pine bark and something metallic she could not place, almost like rust, or blood, or danger itself breathing down her neck. Danny's hand rested on her shoulder, warm and deceptively gentle, a familiarity she had clung to for years. "You okay, babe?" he asked softly, and his voice sounded so sweet that if lies had a taste, they would taste exactly like honey melting on the tongue. "I'm fine," Leah answered, forcing a smile she couldn't see but hoped reached her lips. The blindfold darkened her world, but her mind worked hard to fill the spaces with memory. The wheelchair beneath her creaked as he pushed it forward, its wheels crunching over dirt and grit. She could almost picture the scene, though she had never been here before. The cliffs he described as beautiful, the waterfall he promised she would hear roaring, the natural world he claimed he wanted to share with her again. She trusted him. At least, she wanted to. That trust clung together like an old sweater with too many holes. Stretched thin, threadbare, but still she wore it. "I wish you could see it," Danny murmured behind her, but there was something stiff in his tone, something practiced rather than sincere. She sighed, adjusting her fingers along the armrest. Maybe one day. He hesitated, a tiny hitch in his breath. If her hearing had not sharpened during her months in darkness, she might have missed it. "Yeah," he said. "Maybe." Her foot twitched beneath its heavy cast, reminding her of the cruel irony. A broken leg that kept her bound, trapped, unmoving. As if being blind weren't enough, fate sealed the rest of her into cold metal and cloth bindings, forcing her to rely completely on others. On him, her husband, the man who once whispered he'd love her through everything, through sickness, sorrow, or storm. The wind groaned louder. She could hear the rush of water in the distance, like an entire sky tumbling downward. She'd never heard a waterfall before the accident, and for a moment, the awe stole her breath. "Oh," she gasped softly. "That's beautiful." Danny didn't respond. His silence stretched too long to be natural. Somewhere behind them, the sharp click-clack of heels echoed across stone. Leah perked her head. She knew that rhythm, that distinct pacing, slow, calculated, elegant. Emily, her best friend since childhood, the girl who used to sneak into her house with stolen cupcakes and giggles. Leah tried to smile. "Emily's here, right?" "Yeah," Danny answered. His voice briefly wavered, then hardened. She's here." "You guys are quiet," Leah teased lightly, unaware of the tension spiderwebbing across the earth beneath her tires. "What? Cat got your tongues?" Emily didn't laugh. The sky growled overhead. Thunder cracked across the clouds like a whip, and Leah jolted where she sat. The wheelchair shifted slightly as Danny steadied it, but not in a comforting way. His fingers clamped rather than reassured. "I'm just a little cold," Emily said at last, though her voice trembled like a deer sensing wolves closing in. Only she was the wolf here, and the guilt she carried was fresh enough to make her breath shake. Leah didn't notice. She leaned into the wind, searching the dark void with her blind eyes. "Can we get closer? I want to hear it better." Danny swallowed. "Yeah. 2 letters. Simple, but so deadly heavy." The wheels rolled again, crunching over loose gravel, and Leah felt the subtle shift of slope. The air grew wet. Mist flecked her cheeks with cool droplets. Somewhere deep inside, her instincts whispered something primal and frightened. But she pushed it down. Danny loved her. Emily loved her. They had planned this picnic to cheer her up, hadn't they? "Tell me what it looks like," Leah asked. Her voice carried softly across the thunder's growl. Danny hesitated again. Emily drew a sharp, silent breath behind them. Danny began slowly. His jaw tightened, his eyes staring forward at the jagged edge racing toward them. "It's beautiful. You'd love it." There was no warmth in his words now. No life. Leah tilted her head. "Danny, are you okay?" And in that instant, the mask slipped. He felt it fall, like a glass shattering across stone. His fingers curled tighter around the wheelchair grips, his muscles coiling with a rage he'd tried to bury for months. He thought of the accident, the screech of tires, the hospital bills, the endless care, the pitying glances at work. He thought of the mistress he'd confided in, the friend who soothed him when Leah was too broken to hold. He thought of powerlessness, of lost time, of dreams strangled under the weight of damaged vows. He thought of Emily's perfume and Emily's touch and Emily's whisper. She's suffering. We're suffering. You know what would fix everything? And like a weed, the idea took root. Leah felt something in him shift. She sensed it without seeing. The tension, the poison in his silence. Her breath caught. Danny? Then the earth gave way. Not literally, not yet. It was his heart that crumbled first. This is for the best, he said coldly. Leah barely had time to gasp before he shoved hard. The wheelchair lurched with a violence that ripped a scream from her throat. A raw, animal sound that tore the air apart. She reached out blindly, fingers clawing at nothing. The wheels spun over empty air. Gravel scattered. Time slowed. Danny's face contorted with effort as he pushed with desperation to get the last weight of her over the edge. Emily stood frozen, her mouth open in muted horror, one hand covering her lips while the other twitched as if to stop him. Too late, too little, too cowardly. Leah felt the world vanish beneath her. Her stomach flipped. Her body fell forward, suspended in nothingness, metal and skin pulled by gravity's merciless hand. Wind tore past her ears, carrying her own scream down into the hungry roar below. The waterfall thundered, swallowing all sound, all breath, all hope. Danny released the chair and staggered back, panting like a man who had sprinted miles. His suit was dusted with dirt, his shoes scraped. His heart raced, but his face was suddenly, terrifyingly, calm. Emily stepped forward, eyes wide, her red dress plastering against her legs as spray from the waterfall misted the cliffside. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Danny, what have we?" "It's done," he said flatly, eyes fixed on the empty air where his wife had been seconds before. "No one saw us." Emily swallowed. "Are you sure?" "Yes." His voice sharpened. "Deadly. Certain. Leah is gone." But Leah wasn't gone. Though neither of them could see it, nor imagine the miracle unfolding. Leah's body slammed into a tangle of branches halfway down the ravine. Her scream cut short as the tree limbs clawed at her, slowing her descent, ripping cloth and skin, folding her wrist awkwardly as she crashed, then rolled, then finally dropped into a pool of water below. She hit hard. The world flashed white behind her eyelids. Pain exploded, then vanished. For a moment she floated limp, mind flickering like a dying candle. Something inside her cracked, not just bones or skin, but a deeper core. The blindfold had slipped loose in the impact. Water soaked into it and dragged it down her neck. Her eyelids fluttered open, stinging with cold and dirt. For the first time in a year, light trickled in. Blurred at first, swirling colors and shapes, then sharper edges. The world came into focus in watery fragments. Trees, sky, the vast gray walls of the gorge looming above her. Her heart stuttered. She blinked again. "I can't see," she whispered, voice trembling in disbelief. The pain in her leg pulsed, sharp and burning, but something felt different. Her toes curled beneath the cracked plaster, sensation returning like blood rediscovering dead flesh. Her body had broken on impact, but somehow, impossibly, it had begun to heal. She crawled through mud and moss to the bank, gasping, fingers clawing the earth. Water poured off her hair and clothes, each breath like knives stabbing her chest. She coughed violently, spitting out the river's bitterness. Above her, the cliff towered like a jagged gateway to hell. And somewhere at the top, Danny and Emily were walking away, believing her dead. Her stomach twisted, not with despair, but with searing clarity. Betrayal burned hotter than the pain. Emily, her best friend. Danny, her husband. They had done this. Together. She pressed her palms into the dirt, trembling, eyes wide and shining, not with tears, but with newborn rage. A voice cut through the storm of her thoughts, deep, steady, and close. "You're alive." She froze. Boots splashed through the shallow river. A silhouette emerged from between the trees, a tall, weathered man with a fishing rod strapped across his back and a face carved from years spent under weather and wind. His gray eyes widened with shock as he knelt beside her. I saw you fall," he said, his voice thick with disbelief. "I saw the man push you." Leah stared, still disoriented, vision wavering but real. "Danny," she croaked. "My husband, he pushed me." "I know." The man's jaw tightened. He wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, lifting her with surprising strength. Name's Mason Holt. You're safe now. Safe. The word meant nothing anymore. Not after what she had lived. But something else did. Truth. Justice. Retribution. And as the man carried her into the shelter of the forest, away from death and betrayal and the lies she had been forced to believe, Leah swore one thing to herself with a clarity sharper than steel. They thought she was gone, but she had survived, and she was coming back. Not broken, not blind, and no longer theirs. Mason carried her through the trees like she weighed nothing at all, though Leah could feel every movement vibrate through her body. His arms were solid and sure, not trembling or unsure the way Danny's would have been if he had ever lifted her like this. Danny hadn't carried her anywhere since the accident. He wheeled her like cargo. Useful as long as she stayed silent. Branches scraped past them as Mason moved with determined speed. His breath was steady. Leah rested her cheek against his shoulder for lack of strength to hold it up. She could see, still blurred around the edges, but vision nonetheless, and the sight of a stranger's lined face and storm-worn clothes felt like a miracle. A miracle wrapped inside a nightmare. Where are we going? Her voice came out small, barely audible beneath the roar of the waterfall above. My cabin's not far, Mason said. You need warmth. Clean water. Rest. Your bones took a beating. She flinched at the mention of her bones, remembering the violent tumble. But her leg, she flexed it again, still unsure how she could feel anything at all below her knee, burned but obeyed. The cast had cracked along its underside, jagged edges flaking away, just loose enough for the swelling to breathe. How did you see what happened? She forced out, fighting foggy dizziness. Mason huffed a humorless sound. I come up here early most days. Fishing mostly. Peaceful place, except today. I was down at the bend when I heard shouting. Looked up just in time to see his jaw twitched. Saw that man push you. No accident. No slip. No stumble. He meant it. Leah squeezed her eyes shut as a wave of betrayal washed through her. Danny's face, strained, cold, flashed through her mind like a knife. Emily's too, hand over her mouth, pretending to be horrified, yet frozen rather than intervening. How many lies had they fed her? How long had they waited for a moment she couldn't fight back? Mason adjusted his grip and kept walking. Rain began to speckle the canopy overhead, heavy drops thumping against leaves and dirt. Thunder rumbled again, deeper now, rolling across the sky like a drum calling down judgment. You're lucky, he muttered. I don't feel lucky, she rasped. You are. If you'd fallen 2 feet more left, you'd be dead. The river caught you. Trees slowed you. Another pause. Or maybe it's not luck. Maybe someone up there wants you to finish something. Leah shivered. She didn't know if she believed in divine plans or second chances crafted by unseen hands. But in that moment, she needed to believe there was a reason she was still breathing. The trees thinned, revealing a mossy clearing. A cabin, rugged but inviting, smoke already puffing from a chimney. Sat tucked into the wilderness. Mason pushed through the door, nudged it shut with his boot, and laid Leah gently on a cot near a small stove. The inside smelled of pine, oil, and wood smoke. Clean, warm, safe. He crouched beside her and sliced away the remains of her cast. Leah bit her lip, bracing for agony. But what came instead was a shock. Pain, yes, but not the deathly spearing agony she had lived with for months. Beneath the cracked plaster, bruises blossomed purple and green, but her leg remained straight, firm, not twisted like before. This makes no sense, she whispered, flexing her toes again. I was told the doctors weren't sure it would ever heal. They said nerves were crushed, bones shattered. Mason pressed a cloth dampened with herbal tincture against her skin and raised a brow. Bodies can take more than doctors think, especially when they need to. He stood and poured hot tea into a chipped mug, setting it gently in her palms. Leah wrapped her fingers around it, letting heat seep into her bones. For several minutes they sat in silence, broken only by crackling fire and distant thunder. Then the question she feared tore out of her. What time is it? A little past 9, Mason answered. They'll think I died instantly, Leah murmured, staring into the steam rising from her drink. They'll walk away, go home, pretend to mourn, and soon. Her throat closed. Soon they'll be together. Mason didn't offer empty sympathy. Instead, he asked, "What do you want to do?" Leah hesitated. One path spiraled toward police, hospitals, and headlines she wasn't ready for. Another path curved into the unknown, dangerous, raw, but fueled by something more vital than fear. "I want to go home," she said slowly. "Not to stay, just long enough to see what they're doing, to hear them talk, to know how long they've been planning this." Mason leaned back on his heels, studying her with clear interest. He wasn't shocked. He wasn't horrified. He simply waited. "You think you can stand?" he asked. Leah looked at her feet, swallowed hard, and braced her palms on the cot. Her legs trembled, but held. She rose, wobbling but proud, staring at her own body as if seeing a miracle in motion. "Guess so," she whispered, amazed. Mason nodded, but his voice hardened. "You fall. You ride in a wheelbarrow. I'm not carrying you back twice." She let out a shaky laugh, half relief, half madness. Mason cracked the smallest smile. "But we're not going tonight," he added. "Storm's coming down hard. Night's too dark. We go dawn. You'll eat, sleep, and get strength back." Sleep sounded impossible, but exhaustion dragged at her eyelids. As she lay back, Mason covered her with a heavy wool blanket. "You can rest," he said. "You're safe here." Safe. The word fluttered weakly in her chest, but she let her eyes fall closed. She dreamed of water swallowing her whole, of Danny's face hovering above her with deadened eyes, of Emily's whisper slithering like a serpent in the dark. When she jerked awake before sunrise, sweat soaked her shirt, but strength pulsed in her limbs, a fire she hadn't felt in months. The storm had passed. The sky outside glowed with pale silver dawn, the world scrubbed clean. Mason stood already dressed, packing a bag, first aid supplies, dry food, rope, binoculars. Leah dressed slowly in spare clothes he provided, loose, warm, far less restrictive than hospital gowns and casts in pity. She looked down at her leg, bruised, stiff, but hers again. "Ready?" Mason asked. She nodded. They set off through the wet forest. Sunlight lanced through leaves, scattering gold on puddles and moss. The earth squelched underfoot, but Leah stepped carefully, timing her weight, leaning into Mason's steadying grip only when absolutely necessary. Each step felt like reclaiming a piece of herself. The forest thinned. A dirt road emerged. Mason stopped her before they stepped out of the trees. "From here," he murmured, "we stay low. You're supposed to be dead. Best to let them keep thinking it until you decide otherwise." Leah agreed. Her pulse hammered, her breath coming faster as her house rose in the distance. A familiar shape silhouetted in morning light. The roof glistened with rain, the driveway muddy. But something was wrong. A car sat parked haphazardly near the porch. The silver sedan Emily drove everywhere. Her stomach twisted. Already? Hours after the tragedy? Emily was here? Mason guided her behind a cluster of shrubs bordering the yard, crouching low. "You sure you want to see this?" he whispered. Leah didn't answer. She couldn't. She leaned forward, peering through leaves. The front door opened. Danny stumbled out, hair disheveled, face pale but oddly frantic. Not grief-stricken, just rattled. Emily followed, wearing one of Leah's sweaters. Leah recognized the cream thread, the little stitched rose on the shoulder. A dagger of rage tore through her. Danny paced, running his fingers through his hair. "We need to stick to the story," he muttered. She slipped. It was wet. "I tried to grab her." "You pushed her," Emily snapped, rubbing her temples. "You told me to." Danny fired back, his voice cracking. "You said if she wasn't around, we could finally stop hiding." "I didn't mean kill her, Danny," Emily hissed. Leah's lungs froze. Mason murmured under his breath, "There's your first truth." Danny leaned against the railing, gripping it until his knuckles whitened. "You said she'd never get better," he whispered. "That she'd just drain our lives dry while we waited on someone who couldn't even look at us anymore." Emily stepped toward him, cupping his face in her palms. Her voice softened into honey that dripped poison. "I said we should leave her. I said we could start over. But you wanted clean hands, Danny." Danny swallowed hard. "If she wasn't blind, if she wasn't broken, maybe we wouldn't have." Emily's smile slithered across her lips. "Come on. You know we both checked out long before her accident." The words hit Leah like a direct physical blow. Breath fled her lungs. The forest spun around her. Her hand clenched on the dirt, so tight, She thought she might crush stones into dust. Her accident. The crash. The doctors had said it was a miracle she survived it all. Danny had cried in the hospital, sobbed over her broken body. Or had he cried with relief that she wasn't truly gone yet? So he wouldn't be the villain until someone else did the job? Emily kissed him. Danny returned the kiss, slow and lingering, like lovers who had memorized each other long before tragedy offered them space. Mason's jaw tightened. Leah whispered, "It started before." The words shivered like frost. "Yes," Mason replied. "Likely did." Emily pulled away first. "We need to move fast. Pack up, get away a few days. Play the grieving couple, make it believable." Couple. They were already calling themselves that. Danny nodded. "Then come back for the funeral." Funeral. Leah pressed her fist to her mouth to stifle a cry so sharp it could have shattered glass. She looked down at her hands. Hands that used to hold his. Hands that clung to hope during months of recovery she thought he suffered through with her. They had planned everything. Leah's vision sharpened with fury so pure it steadied her. "No police yet," Emily added quickly. "We don't need too many eyes." Danny sighed. "Right. The fewer questions the better." Leah had heard enough. She backed away slowly, heart pounding, eyes full of fire. Mason followed without a word. When they reached the cover of the trees, Leah's knees buckled. Mason caught her before she hit the ground. Her breath came in gasps, half sobs, half war cries. "They killed me," she whispered. "They stood there and watched me fall. And now they're planning a life like I never existed." Mason steadied her shoulders. "Not anymore." Leah lifted her eyes, blazing with something Danny and Emily never suspected she could feel again. "I want to destroy them," she breathed. "I want them to feel everything I felt." Mason nodded slowly. "Then we'll do it right. Quietly. Carefully. With proof." Leah wiped her tears. Her voice hardened into steel. "They think I'm dead." A slow, fierce smile spread across her lips. "So let them think it." She stood, not limping, not trembling, but with the strength of someone reborn in fire and river stone, and turned away from the house that no longer belonged to her. Mason followed, a silent shadow at her back. And as they disappeared into the trees, the sun cut through clouds, lighting the path before them like destiny unfolding. Leah wasn't going to hide forever. She was going to rise. And she was going to hit back where it hurt the most. The first week of her recovery in the shepherd's cabin felt like waking inside someone else's skin. Her body buzzed with strange power. Her eyes took in every grain of wood, every curl of smoke from the hearth, the sheepdog's twitching whiskers when it dreamed. Her legs trembled at first, but each day she forced herself to stand longer, to shuffle from the straw bed to the doorway, then out into the sunlight that glittered like a thrown handful of coins. The shepherd, whose name was Jonah, said little more than needed, but his quiet presence was its own medicine. Bread always ready, water warmed with herbs, a steady hand when she swayed. She hadn't told him everything yet. The truth perched on her tongue like a raven refusing to fly, heavy with pain and humiliation. Sometimes she woke with her mouth open, whispering Henry's name, half expecting him to come barreling into the cabin with his apologetic grin. Each time she remembered what he'd done, it hit her anew, like that very first shattering moment when she realized, he pushed me. Not stumbled, not slipped, pushed. Her heart and mind sparred endlessly. Some nights, she lay awake asking why, reeling through the possibilities like cards in a magician's hand. Accident, madness, some possessed impulse. But she'd seen the truth in his eyes. She'd felt it in the deliberate shove. And Henry's hands, the hands that had steadied her through blindness and crutches, had turned executioner. By the 10th day, with strength returning, she finally told Jonah everything. Her blindness, the mistress, the picnic, the shove, the fall, the miraculous escape. Jonah listened, occasionally pausing his whittling to squint at her, as if she were a spirit appearing out of old mountain lore. When she finished, breathless, he didn't gasp or shake his head. He simply set down the wooden figurine he'd been carving and said, "You lived. So now figure what you want to do with living." Those words stuck in her ribs like iron rods. What did she want? Lay low forever? Confront Henry and risk being silenced again? Or expose him? And Clara, with the full weight of truth? Back in town, Henry and Clara moved through life as though the world had neatly erased her. Clara took over Emma's favorite neighborhood cafe table, sipping lattes with a smug tilt of her chin. When women from church offered condolences, "Oh, Henry, we can't believe such tragedy." Henry accepted them with a perfect quiver in his voice, swallowing crocodile tears and squeezing Clara's hand just a fraction too tightly under the table. They'd already started shaping their story. Emma, fragile and depressed, had slipped near the cliffside overlook. Henry had tried to save her. Oh, he had tried, but she slipped away, and her body had never been found. Tragic, yet plausible in the deep ravines of those mountains. They'd planned a small memorial, closed casket, serene lilies, sorrow perfectly staged. Insurance forms lay ready to sign, enough money to buy a honeymoon estate and a new car. Their evenings were spent whispering future fantasies. Clara browsed wedding dress designs on her phone, elbows tucked under Henry's arm as though she had always belonged there. Henry dreamed of moving houses, too many memories here, of course, and starting a fresh chapter. But under the surface, cracks began forming. Henry couldn't sleep. He woke drenched in sweat, heart pounding, dreaming of Emma's fingers clawing at rocks, her eyes open, her voice calling his name, not blind, but glaring accusation. Once he jerked upright so violently that Clara screamed. "You're losing it," she snapped after the third night, eyes narrowed. "You think I don't know what's at stake?" he hissed back. Clara recoiled, not expecting the venom. "We did what we had to," she muttered, but it sounded half-believed. Meanwhile, Emma practiced walking along uneven mountain paths, pushing muscles that felt foreign, still learning how to trust her own legs. She whispered gratitude. Not exactly to fate, but to the fire inside her spine that refused to lie down and die. The fall hadn't broken her. It had rebuilt her. Jonah taught her how to read the land, how to navigate by ridges and shadows, how to gauge distance by sound and wind. One afternoon, she asked him why he lived so far from everything. "People lie more in town," he said. "Up here, stones tell the truth." And with that, Emma understood she had come to the right teacher. By the third week, Emma felt strong enough to descend with Jonah to the village below. She wore a headscarf, not ready to reveal herself yet, and clutched Jonah's elbow as the shepherd led her down familiar roads she hadn't walked since she could see. The town seemed smaller, pettier even, when she saw it with new eyes. People gossiping on porches, paint peeling off fences, shopkeepers sweeping dust that always returned. On instinct, her feet led her to her old house, though she stopped a street away. There, in the front yard, stood Clara, pruning Emma's cherished rose bushes, the ones Henry always claimed were too much trouble. Clara tossed thorny branches with a practiced flick, humming. Henry came out with 2 glasses of lemonade, handed one to Clara, then leaned in and kissed her, for all the world like a man whose wife had never existed. Emma's heart thundered but didn't break, not this time. Instead, she felt a cold, precise calm etch itself into her bones. Jonah murmured, "There's your answer," as though he'd plucked the thought straight from her chest. But fate pushed its own hand sooner than Emma expected. At the memorial service scheduled that weekend, half the town filled the pews. Emma's absence had made her a kind of tragic celebrity. Henry stood at the front, polished and softened by grief, arm firmly around Clara's waist. The pastor read psalms about eternal rest and mysterious ways. Henry prepared to speak, his palms damp, but his voice trained to quaver at the right words. He opened his mouth to begin, and the church door creaked. People turned as a silhouette entered, straight-backed, steady, walking on 2 sound legs. At first there was confusion, then disbelief, gasps bursting like fireworks. Clara swayed. Henry's lips parted in a silent scream. Emma felt all eyes burn into her, but she walked the aisle like a queen reclaiming a stolen throne. No cane, no sunglasses, no trembling hands. A few murmured miracle. Others crossed themselves. When she reached the front pew, she didn't glare or scream. She simply said, voice clear enough to cut glass, "I didn't slip. He pushed me." Pandemonium erupted, shouts of what? Cries, chairs scraping. Clara clutched Henry's arm, so hard her nails dug blood. Henry lunged forward as though to silence Emma, but church men restrained him. Emma told everything, every detail, Every word she'd overheard before the picnic, every bruise, every betrayal. And just when skeptics squinted, Jonah stepped through the same doors, nodding once to Emma, then speaking his role, how he found her broken body, how she survived, how she healed under his roof. He brought the coat she'd worn, torn and blood-stained, a relic that silenced doubters. Police officers arrived before the pastor could steady the mayhem. Henry tried to bolt. Clara shrieked for a lawyer, for some excuse that failed to form. But Emma stood still, watching with a calm storm inside. Not triumph, exactly, but justice uncoiling like a long-awaited sunrise. As Henry was handcuffed, he spat. "You should have stayed dead." Emma met his eyes. No fear, no pity. "I chose to live," she replied. Clara, unraveling, insisted it was Henry's idea, that she was manipulated, that she never meant harm. Her excuses piled like cheap fabric unraveling at the seams. The town watched their perfect masks dissolve, revealing rot beneath. Outside the church, people gathered around Emma. There, all washed over her. Survival had turned her into something mythic, a woman resurrected. Some begged forgiveness for doubting her. Others cried just seeing her stand. Emma didn't blame them. People see what they're shown. Henry had painted himself a saint. Later that evening, Emma returned to her house, not with keys or permission, but with rightful ownership. Police tape barred the doorway as evidence crews swept through, yet she stood on her porch and breathed deep. Roses she once tended reached toward her as if greeting an old friend. Jonah lingered beside her. "So what now?" he asked. Emma smiled faintly, soft, tired, fierce. "Now," she said, "I live my life, and it belongs to me." And somewhere far off, thunder rolled, not threat, but promise. Because Emma had risen from a grave dug by betrayal, washed her eyes clear of lies, and stepped back into her own story, and everyone who once erased her would now speak her name with reverence, not pity. For the first time in years, she felt free, not broken, not burdened, but burning bright with the certainty of a future she would shape with her own hands. No cliff, no betrayal, no darkness could ever take that from her again.